Hi there, welcome back. We've got another preview ahead of Surrey's 2019 season for you. My name is David Garrido. I'm joined once again by BBC commentator and Surrey's voice of cricket, Mark Church. We're here at the Fenton Arms, barely Jason Roy 6 away from the Kia Oval. Now, if you've been keeping a very close eye on our YouTube channel, I'm sure you have, then make sure that you subscribe and you enable your notifications so you don't miss anything that we drop on the channel. You'll have seen that last week we did our Specsavers County Championship Division 1 preview, Surrey defending champions. Today, though, we're going to focus on a competition that admittedly Surrey might have mixed feelings about, and that's the Royal London One Day Cup, but hopefully plenty of reasons to be hopeful and positive. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Well, last year was difficult for Surrey in this competition, but there was one major positive. Will Jacks broke into the side, and he hasn't looked back since. They're Surrey men through and through, and they've known each other for much of their careers. Rikki Clarke and Jade Dernbach take on Mr. and Mr. And head coach Michael Venuto has masterminded an incredible few years for the club. We'll hear his master plan for the 50-over game this season. Mark Church, let's talk about 50-over cricket. What are your feelings on this format? What does it have that you don't get in first-class four-day cricket and also in the T20 game?
The obvious thing to say is 50 overs because it is that shorter format of the game. That's why they pay me the big bucks. I still have a theory that had India not won the World Cup, what was it now, 8 years ago? Yep. We wouldn't be playing 50-over cricket now. But I'm glad we are because I love the format. And I think we saw in the last World Cup, the way to play it is to go out, and we're seeing it with England now, go out, all guns blazing, put a massive total on the board and then let your bowlers defend. And it makes for really exciting viewing. So 50-over cricket now, there's a definite format to it. But the nice thing about it now is whereas there used to be those sort of quite boring middle overs where you milk the spinners and just knock the ball around. Now you've got players who at the top of the order, if they get going, they just keep going and keep going and keep going. And we've seen that with England and we've seen it with many teams around the world. So yeah, the obvious thing to say is it's 50 overs, so it is a format, but actually that format's really good and works now.
Now, generally, I mean, Surrey have been in decent form over the last few years in this competition. They've been to 3 of the last 4 Lord's finals. Just tell us, as a county cricket lover, what is that like as a grand day out?
Yeah, I'm going to shock you. It's not as good as it used to be.
Oh, what?
It used to be the big day, didn't it? It used to be that September, your county getting to the Lord's final used to be the big day. But now, because of 2020, obviously finals day is huge, and it's a wonderful day out. It's still very important, but obviously this year's going to be very different in the fact that it'll be done by the end of May. So this competition's done and dusted in that block of a month, 5 weeks. So I wonder what impact that will have. I'm hoping that because it'll be that first major final and it's earlier in the season, that a lot more people will turn up, because it'd be lovely to see a full house at Lord's again for what, is still a showpiece final. But I think, it's the way it's gone. At 2020 now, finals day, it's such a fantastic day and it's such a brilliant day out that I think just in a way the 50-over final has just slightly lost a bit of its kudos.
Okay. Last season, admittedly, things did not go to plan for Surrey. Didn't get out of the group stage. What was that down to?
Just they were inconsistent. When they were good, they were really good. When they were bad, they were awful. They got away with it a bit the year before, where they got to a point where they needed some favours and needed to win their last group game, and they managed that, and then suddenly put a performance together in the semi-final and found themselves in the final. That didn't work last year. You can't rely on other people. So I think Surrey have to look at the fact that why are they brilliant one day and then not very good the next, and that will definitely be the one thing they're looking at for this competition. And I think it will probably help them, as I say, the fact that it's in a block, and the same for all the counties. You can just concentrate on your white ball stuff for that period of time.
Well, every cloud has a silver lining, and given that he's now so important to Surrey's team, it's astonishing to think that a year ago Will Jacks hadn't even made his Surrey debut. The Royal London One Day Cup was the competition that gave him that opportunity. He absolutely grabbed it with both hands. He scored 254 runs in the competition. We've spoken to Will. Here he is telling us about how important this competition is for him.
Will, thank you for joining us. First of all, if I can ask about your winter. You started scoring runs in Australia, then you got that England Lions call. How was that experience?
Yeah, it was a really good winter. I went to Australia to try and grow my game, experience new conditions, and kind of be on my own and work things out for myself. So it was good to score runs and then to get the line to call up. I wasn't expecting it at all. It was really unexpected and really pleasing, and had a good trip there. It was good.
And you were obviously with Ali as well. How did that help sort of the transition from Surrey and into the England setup?
Yeah, it was nice having him there. Always nice to know someone when there's a lot of fresh faces around. So it helped me settle in just by being there, because it's always nice to have a familiar face.
And you've been in the Surrey setup a long time now. How does it feel, start of this season, start of every season, getting to play for Surrey again?
Start of every new season, there's always a lot of excitement, because there's obviously a range of possibilities that the season can hold for you. You're always hoping to do as well as you can do. And that's why we're here working really hard to try and give ourselves the best opportunity to go and win the championship again.
If we focus on the Royal London One Day Cup for a second, that's obviously where you got your first chance last season. That must mean this competition, so you hold it quite dearly.
Yeah, it was obviously my first experience of professional cricket, and I got a game where I've made a breakthrough innings, which I proved to myself I was good enough to play at this level, which is really important that you can show that to yourself. So this year, with the games being so early, we've only got one championship game before the cap starts. It will be important for me and the whole team to win a few games, try and qualify for the quarters, and get confidence for the rest of the season.
Talk about that breakthrough innings. That 100 against Gloucestershire was some incredible power hitting that you don't get to see maybe too often in the game. So, just is that the style of batsman you like to take your game to the bowlers?
Yeah, I think so. I've always been free-flowing, and with the quality of teammates I've got around me, that's kind of my role at that top of the order, get the team off to a good start and keep playing my way, my shots the whole way through the innings.
It wasn't a great competition overall for Surrey last year, but we have reached 3 Lords finals in 3 consecutive years before that. So what can Surrey do to get back to that level and hopefully go one further this year?
I think there's a lot of optimism, even considering last year we had, in the games we won, we played really good all-round performances. Just in the games we lost, we either batted or bowled well, we just couldn't put the two together. So this year I think we just try and replicate what we did well in the games we won, and try and get the whole performance better, because when we do that, I don't think there'll be many teams that can match us.
And it's going to be an exciting summer of 50 over cricket in England, just generally. With the World Cup coming to town, is that a chance for you to maybe see the best players in action, and also how they handle the biggest games, the most pressurised situations?
Yeah, definitely, especially someone like Jason now with 4 or 5 games. He'll then be going to open back the World Cup, so it's always good to play with him and to learn from how he trains and how he plays, and watch what he does, and hopefully I can take something from that.
And obviously we talked about how early the Royal London One Day Cup is in the season. How much momentum could a good performance in the group stage and then hopefully further, how much momentum could that give for the Championship and the T20 Class to follow?
I think it could get a lot. It could give us a lot, because if you qualify and have a good competition, the whole squad will be on a high, and everyone around the country will know that we're playing well again, and that'll be after last year's performance in the Championship. If everyone knows we've been business again, I think it'll be hard to beat after that.
So clearly a genuine talent, powerful batsman, explosive batsman. What do you think of Will Jacks?
I remember seeing him get that 100 against Gloucestershire last year, second game of the season I think it was, in the One Day Cup, and just sitting there and thinking, dear, where's this lad come from? Because we'd heard about him and everyone had said, and he'd been with England for the Under-19 World Cup, hadn't really set the world on fire in that, but had scored 100 in one of the group games in that. And people had said to me, you know, this boy has got everything the modern player needs, plays all the shots, he's aggressive, he'll come out, he'll take the bowlers on, and you hear all that and you think, yeah, you know, I heard it all before. Yeah. Geez, he's got everything. He really has, and you don't want to build someone up too much, but it's just the way he plays, and he is your modern young batsman. He'll go out there, ball one, and look to take it on, and yeah, he has got the game for one-day cricket. I also think he's got the game for red ball cricket, but for the one-day stuff, especially for him this year, He'll be under a bit of pressure, and it'll be a different pressure for him now because people know what he can do, and other sides will have seen what he can do. But I think he's a good enough player that on his day, if he gets going, he's unstoppable. And he's got that 360-degree game they all talk about. He can hit you wherever he wants to when he's in that mood, and he's a huge talent. Huge talent.
Will spoke in that interview about how this competition is actually sort of a good way to give that next crop an introduction to the county game. Why do you think that is?
It is, and I see what he's saying, but again, I think it'll be different this year in that a lot of the time when you get into this competition, it's been broken up by championship cricket. Now, you might have picked up injuries. Your championship season could have been going badly, and you think, well, we've got to see if we can blood some new talent, so we'll bung them in at the one-day stuff, get a bit of one-day experience in, and then play them in the championship. This is totally different. As I say, that whole one-day comp is in a block, and ideally, if you're in that block, you want to have some consistency in that team, because the best one-day sides, if you look at them, it's the same 11 blokes who all know exactly what their role is and know what their jobs are. Now, this will be slightly different for Surrey in the fact there's a World Cup, and they only have those World Cup squad players for the first 4 games. But I think what will be different this year is all the counties will want to have a settled 11 that ideally for them play throughout the competition and get them to the final and win the final by the end of May. So I think it'll be a slightly different dynamic this year. I see exactly what Will's saying. We've seen it over the years that certain young players have come in one day first and then gone into the 4-day stuff. I think this year it'll be, and Surrey will be exactly like all the other counties, they will have their game plan, they will have the 11 they're thinking of who all know their roles, and they'll want to stick to that 11. I
guess it gives us an insight though into his maturity. He's thinking about his development, and with so many experienced heads in the Surrey dressing room, how comforting is that for a player who's sort of making their way in the game, that you're surrounded by these sort of renowned names?
Yeah, I think so, and I think also for the way Will plays, there'll be days where he'll go out there and he'll play a shot and everyone will sit there and think, what on earth was that about? And then other days it'll come off and we'll think he's a genius. He's that sort of player. But then as a young player, if you know you've got that experience around you, then you can just go out and play your game, in the fact that you think of what that Surrey middle order might be like for the one-day stuff, and Folkes in there and Burns in there, the 2 experienced heads just to knock it around, and if there is a wobble at the top, they're the cement in the middle. So for Will, he can just go out and play his natural game, because he knows some days it might come off, some days it might not, but if it doesn't, then there's that sort of cement behind him that can fix up the innings.
Well, Rikki Clarke first played for Surrey in 2001, Jade Dernbach in 2003. It's fair to say they're pretty experienced when it comes to the county game. Now, having met so early on in their cricketing lives, you would imagine that they probably know a hell of a lot about one another. Yeah, not so much.
Hi, welcome to Mr. and Mr. I'm Jade Dernbach. This is Rikki Clarke. I've known this geezer for 17 years. Let's have a go at this game.
Let's have a go at this game. Yeah.
I know what year it was. 2001.
2001. Lovely start.
Nice start, mate. Great work.
2003.
2003.
Yeah. Tricky ones there.
Come on, mate. Step it up.
Hey.
Mr. and Mr, mate. West Indies?
Pakistan.
Ah, that was my second guess.
Ah.
Sorry, mate. I'm not a cricket badger.
Hopefully I am a cricket badger. No. I was going to go Sri Lanka. I was going to go Sri Lanka and I changed to India.
Sri Lanka.
Ah.
Just saying, Jai first wicket.
Good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Inner arm / bicep.
Yeah. Left inner arm. I've got a 1 in 100 chance here.
Mr. and Mr, we've known each other a long time.
Yeah.
We're like brothers in that sense.
I'm going to go arm. Do you want
Inner arm.
inner arm?
It's the arm, mate.
I think it's Chinese writing.
It was, yeah!
Get
That's an extra point.
That
Thank
was
you.
an extra point.
There you go.
That's good, that.
So you knew exactly where it was. So you
know.
knew the part of the body, mate. Ooh,
Wow.
naughty.
I don't even know that.
I'm going to go with this geezer.
I've got more famous, sorry to say, but I'm going to go Jade Dernbach.
Oh, I've got Mark Hudson.
Oh! Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were thinking out of the box. I thought you were putting yourself up there on a pedestal.
No,
Sorry.
not that geezer.
Don't be that guy. No?
Paul Merson.
Danny Cipriani.
Second one.
Second one.
Yeah. Tough question, that.
Yeah, real tough question. Can we go on to colours?
No.
Yeah.
Who puts fruit on a pizza?
It's a Hawaiian.
It's not a thing.
They made it up. I just eat it.
No, it's not a thing, that. That's not a thing. I think you know what the answer might be.
100%.
No, exclamation mark as well, so we get an extra point. No.
No. In our relationship.
Rikki?
Me.
With a smiley face.
With a smiley face.
I'm sure Clarky will disagree, but everyone else will say Jade has always worn the trousers.
Really?
Wow.
Who's the independent adjudicator?
Ooh.
Me?
Wow, okay.
He's a Chelsea fan, he knows nothing.
The thing is, though, maybe that's a sign of a good relationship. Terrible questions.
Yeah.
We need to have a look at this geezer. Thanks, mate.
Now, honestly, what Rikki Clarke and Jade Dernbach don't know about county cricket isn't worth knowing. But what is also clear, Mark, is that they absolutely love Surrey County Cricket Club. Now, I mean, it seems like an obvious thing to say, but how important is that facet in a dressing room?
Just huge. And I think, you know, Rikki Clarke coming back to Surrey when he did was absolutely the most perfect timing. I think, in a way, more luck than judgment. But to get him back when they did was perfect because he gets the club through and through. As you said, he started his career here back in 2000, and he's just a very, very experienced man who loves this club. Jade Dernbach, look, Jade, he's the guy you want on your team at Surrey because he bleeds Surrey. To Jade Dernbach, winning a game of cricket for Surrey is the most important thing in the world. And look, Jade will be the first to admit this, the tattoos, the hair, the rock and roll star, it's all part of it. It's all part of the Jade Dernbach act. But actually, under the tattoos and under the haircuts and under the rock star look, there is a bloke there that just loves this club. And I think that passion comes through every time he walks out there to play for Surrey.
Absolutely right. I mean, I remember actually being out there in the middle of the Kia Oval ahead of the toss in one of the T20 Blast games last year. And Jade was obviously out there for Surrey and won the toss and made a call and then had a little chat. And you really got this sort of steely determination, even in that pre-match interview. You know, he's in game.
Yeah, and I think the other thing people forget with Jade is, you know, he is still a world-class one-day bowler. He's got, you know, he always does it at the tough side. He never hides. No. So he'll always take on your first few overs and take your back-end overs on as well. And, you know, you sort of put your head above the parapet if you do that. And he's done that day in and day out for Surrey. And, you know, you see it, especially in the one-day stuff with him, that there aren't that many better death bowlers than Jade Dernbach knocking around in world cricket. And a guy who knows how he wants to bowl. He knows his game inside out now. So I think, there are times with Jade where I don't know whether to speak to him or read him with all the tattoos, because he just. But it's all part of the Dernbach, the Dernbach persona.
Yeah.
But what people mustn't forget with Jade is underneath the tattoos and the hair, and there's a bloke who loves this club, and he's also still a world-class performer.
You mentioned this a little bit earlier on, Mark. For the likes of Liam Plunkett, Tom Curran, also Jason Roy, they have been made available. They'll be allowed to play the first 4 games of Surrey's Royal London One Day Cup campaign. Now, obviously that may well help them in their bid to get into England's World Cup squad. Of course, a very exciting summer ahead on the international stage, home World Cup, with England as favourites. But how much of a boost is that for Surrey?
Yeah, it's good. I think it's a boost for Surrey. I think it's a boost for them as well, because it's ideal preparation. England will want to get them into camp, and England will want them to get their warm-up games out of the way and the one days they're playing before that to go into a World Cup. But also for those guys that, and for the counties that have players that are going to play, to get 4 games of one-day cricket under your belt. And as I say, they are 4 huge games in the fact that you get off to a bad start, there isn't you catching that up will be very, very difficult in this competition. So yeah, I think it's great for Surrey to have them, but I think it's also great for those players as well, in the fact that they'll be playing 4 competitive games of white ball cricket as well.
I mean, not just all about the England players, because of course when the England camp get together, then Dean Elgar comes into the Surrey squad. He could stay for the remainder of the season potentially. What does he add to this group of players?
He's a terrific signing for Surrey. He was great last year. The other thing is, Dean Elgar fits into, I think he likes Surrey. Not everybody comes to a club in London like Surrey and it works out. It is a different thing, living in London, all that good stuff. But Dean, of course, remember he was with Surrey 4 or 5 years ago. He came for a little patch, and I think he really enjoyed it. And I think to get him back, and you tend to look at Dean Elgar, South African Test match opener, you forget what a good one-day player he is. And again, with an Elgar there, for the likes of Jacks and even Jason Roy, if they don't come off, you've got a bloke there who can bat you 50 overs and be 130 not out at the end. And again, he has that experience. So I think, again, he could be an absolutely crucial guy going into that back end of the group stages, and fingers crossed from a Surrey point of view, semi-final and final.
Well, crucial in bringing in the overseas talent like Dean Elgar is, of course, Surrey's head coach, Michael Di Venuto. Well, here he is talking about what Surrey need to do to improve their white ball cricket this year.
Coach, thank you very much for joining us. Spectator County Championship was great last year. We won the title, but maybe we didn't quite perform how we would have liked in the white ball competition. Can you put your finger on why that was the case?
Yes, I guess most of the white ball competitions we didn't start well enough, and in those competitions it's important to get off to a good start, because it just gives you a bit of breathing space in the back end of the knockout stages. So for us, we know our best is good enough, but it's about lessening those bad days that we seem to have. And when we're good, we're very good, but when we're bad, we're also very bad as well. So it's about lessening that gap, so when we're not quite at our best, that we can still win games of cricket. With the talent that we've got in our dressing room, there's certainly no reason why we can't do that.
Could you pinpoint a reason, a way that you can sort of bridge that gap? Taking it from, obviously, when you're at your best, you're going to win games, that's the talent in the squad. But how do you get through a game where maybe the batsmen aren't quite getting the ball away how they'd like?
Yeah, it's part and parcel of the game, and we often say you've got to find a way. Sometimes, we've got very skillful players. There's no doubt about that. Batting, bowling, and in the field. So it's just a matter of, our best players stepping up and leading the way, and then some of our young boys coming along and following suit. So, it's all there for us. And I guess since the 3 years that I've been here, our one-day cricket's been exactly the same every year, where we've started slow, and this is in T20 as well, and then played some outstanding cricket along the way, got to the last game of the group stages in both competitions and needing to win, but also relying on other teams to win as well, so that we have a chance to get through those playoff rounds. Previous years, that's happened for us and it's fallen our way. Last year, it didn't happen, and sides that we needed to win, they lost. So, we failed to make the knockout stages. certainly something that I want us to do. This squad, we need to be playing in those knockout rounds, and we tend to play some really good cricket when we're there. But if we don't start competitions well, then the same thing is going to happen this year.
You allude to the recent form. Other than last year, Surrey have done well on the whole in this competition. Get to the final 3 years in a row. What would it mean to get back to Lords this year?
That's obviously the end goal, is to get down there. We want to be challenging in this competition. There's no doubt about that. And as I said, we've just got to start the competition better and play better cricket throughout those group stages, so we don't have to rely on other teams to get through to the qualifying round. So it's better, playing a more consistent brand of one-day cricket and lessening the difference between the good and bad days.
Will Jacks was one positive from the competition last season. He came into the side without having played in senior cricket before that, and looked at home. Is this a good place to bring in youngsters, introduce them to county cricket?
Oh, absolutely. It's always, especially the modern young player, generally brought up with a lot of white ball cricket, and they have no fear, some of these guys, and they have some exceptional talent. So it was exciting for us to get Will out there last year, and then obviously see the performances that came with it. So he's come on leaps and bounds as a cricketer, just through that confidence of playing and doing well. He's an exceptionally talented ball striker. I'm certainly looking forward to watching him and how he continues to develop this year.
There's got to be a lot of competition for places as well this year. Jason Roy, Tom Curran and Liam Puckett are going to be available for the first 4 matches. How much of a boost is that to have international calibre?
Yeah, absolutely. Exciting for everyone. Exciting for us as a team. Exciting for the fans to watch our best players playing for us, and also for the guys just to be around our group again. Obviously, with the international players, they come in and out a little bit. We don't get to see a lot of them these days, but they always enjoy coming back and playing. So, looking forward to those guys leading the way, along with our young talent that we've also got, and playing an exciting brand of one-day cricket.
It's going to be a huge summer of 50-over cricket in England. We've obviously got the World Cup 5 matches at the Kia Oval. How does the county cricket tournament fit into that whole idea of 50-over cricket? And if someone is impressive in county cricket, is there a chance for them to step up?
I think with the World Cup where it is, I think England have done it really well to have the one-day competition early, and giving their squad members a chance to play a lot of white ball cricket as a lead-in to that World Cup. So the English team, they've played some tremendous white ball cricket, 50-over stuff, over the last 3.5 years. They've used probably 17, 18 players throughout that period of time, so they've been pretty consistent with their selection. So I don't really see anyone jumping out of the box to force their way into a World Cup side. But what it does do, it does give those 15 guys who will play for England, an excellent lead-in to the World Cup.
All right, so let's talk about Surrey's head coach. What kind of impact has Michael de Venuto had since arriving at the Kia Oval?
Yeah, he's had a huge impact, and I think what Surrey got when they got Michael de Venuto was a guy who knew the way he wanted to play his cricket. He wanted his team to play their cricket, and also, this is a bloke who won the World Cup with Australia as batting coach, so he knows what he's up to. And I think where he is so good, all he really wants is for every player, every day when they go out to play, to improve their game. He can be tough, which you need to be, I think, over the course of a season, because it's a long season, but I think he's just enabled players to go out and play their way. And I think as long as he sees an improvement in those players, then he's quite a satisfied man. I wonder whether the success of last year possibly came a bit quicker than he was expecting. Okay. But I think what he does have is he has a group of players that he's inherited who were in a good place, and he's taken them to an even better place now and enabled them to play their best cricket. And he's a hell of a good coach. hell of a good coach.
I'm sure that he'll have a few thoughts about competition management, match management. When it comes to the Royal London One Day Cup and the group stage, Surrey start away from home, they finish away from home as well, but then they've got 4 home matches in the middle. How crucial will they be in terms of momentum and also just getting some positive results to go better than last year?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is, as I said earlier, it's that Surrey have, even when they've got to the final, had to rely on results going their way or win that last game. You don't want to be going into that last game. But ideally, and this is what I'm saying about this comp, and I know you're saying first game away, then that block of 4 home games. But ideally for Surrey, for all the counties, if you've got a settled side who are playing good one-day cricket, you know that is a side that can take you through. Obviously, Surrey will lose some England players, but that's fine. They've got the players to come in and take their place. But that core of the side can take you through the whole competition to the final with no distractions in between. So I think that this year, I think for everybody, this year's a bit different in that this is the first time we've had this, where it's in that block, it's all done early in the season. Weather could play its part, you know, if it is that early season conditions, white ball nipping around, new white ball at either end. Are we going to see high scoring games? Are we going to see low scoring games? Surrey's way they'll want to play down the road at the Kia Oval is good tracks, bat first, score 400 and defend. That will be the way they will do that at home. But as I say, if you can get on a roll, and win your first couple of games and then that confidence builds, then I think you can take that through to the final.
Well, it's Hampshire who are currently the holders of the Royal London One Day Cup, but who else should we be looking out for? What other dangerous teams are there in the competition this year?
Kent have got a very, very good looking one day side as well. I think Notts, with the signings that they've made over the close season. I wonder as well if there's sort of a bolter a bit like Worcestershire, the Rapids, with what they did in the T20 last year. Obviously they've lost Joe Clarke, which is a blow to them, but you know they've got enough players there to put it together. I just think any of the sides that, you know, start well, as I've been saying, and get on a roll, and that could be someone you've not thought of. The thing with 50 over cricket now is if you've got 11 players who know what their jobs are, then the rest takes care of itself. It really does. You know, it's again, you can have game plans, you can have thought processes, you can think about power plays, you can do all of that. The basic is, if you score loads of runs and knock the opposition over for less, you win the game. So I think keep it as simple as possible. But I think all the counties will be thinking to themselves, as I say, with a block there, can we find the 11 blokes that are going to stick us through the whole competition?
I'm getting this vibe from you, Mark, and especially when we talked about the county championship in the previous preview video. You know, that cricket doesn't have to be complicated.
No, I think. Do you know what? I think, and I'm not a modern man, as you can tell, but I do understand the modern ways of life, and you know, I think all the stat stuff is amazing, and I think for the players to be able to analyse their innings is brilliant. But at the end of the day, it's still one bloke at one end with a ball in his hand and another bloke with a bat in his hand, and I think the simpler you keep things, at times the better it gets. And I think you can almost get too sort of fixated with figures and stats and what you should do in the 25th over and the 26th over. At times the best sides just play what's in front of them. And I think that's what you have to do. I think if you go in with a set game plan and you haven't got number B, if you've got game A, but if you haven't got game B and you haven't got the players that can read what's going on in front of them, then I think you'll be in trouble.
I guess, you know, clarity, therefore, is such an important quality to have. You mentioned keeping it simple, but what else? If there's one thing that Surrey have to absolutely nail to make sure that they don't just get to another Lord's final, but actually lift that first silverware of the season, what is it?
I think the key thing for Surrey is runs. I think if batsmen get in, go on and score big. I think Surrey have been slightly guilty maybe of, you know, getting off to flying starts and you're 100 without loss after 10 overs and then suddenly you're rebuilding the innings through the middle overs because the two that have got you off to a fly haven't gone on. And I think they have that talent to smash 450 overs, Surrey. But I think where they are and this is what I meant about playing what's in front of you. You look at that middle order, you know, we talked about, but your Algars, your Burns, your Folkeses, for me, they're the guys that either if you're chasing, will get you over the line, or if your top order get off to a flyer and then get out, they can repair the innings. But I think it's down, the responsibility comes down to that top order. If they get in, stay in. And don't, you know, pretty 80s are great, they're not going to win you games of cricket. One day games, big 160s, 170s.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and especially 50 overs is a long time. You know, maths is not my strong point, but if you're a Surrey batsman and you naturally score at 4 and over, then over 50 overs, if you stay in, you'll be there or thereabouts by the end of the innings. So I think that's been where they haven't been great, especially last year, is they got off to good starts, then completely fell away. If they get off to a good start this year, they've just got to keep going.
Mark, thank you very much. Great to speak to you as always. Sadly, we've run out of time, guys, but just to let you know, well, Surrey's Royal London One Day Cup campaign starts at Gloucestershire. That's the 17th of April. Then there's a game in Sussex, and then it is Essex at home. First home game of the season in the 50-over format, and that is at the Kia Oval on the 23rd of April. Don't forget, you can see every single ball of every single home game live at kiaoval.com. Of course, watching on YouTube, will make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Just takes one click and it's done, and enable those notifications as well so you don't miss a single thing that we drop on the channel. Thank you once again for watching. We'll see you again soon.